And right now the situation is, as you know, as a parent, we have to go through 10 different websites. We have to send in paper checks. We have to fax in immunization records. So we're creating a whole new world for parents where you can say, my son is 5 years old. He likes XYZ activity. Fill up my entire summer for me. So we can make that so easy and we can reduce that mental load of parenthood.
Ask any parent and they'll tell you that after school and summertime childcare and enrichment is broken. I sat down with the co-founders of Recess to talk about how they're using technology to change that. This is The Art of Building. Hi, I'm Kate McAndrew, General Partner at Baukunst, and I am here today in the studio with Molly Morse and Amy Kiska, co-founders of Recess. I am so glad you guys are here. Welcome to Baukunst.
We're so happy to be here. Thank you for having us.
And you flew in from North Carolina and Austin to be here with us. We are so excited to be investors in your business and excited to dive into your stories today. So first off, in 2 minutes, tell us what Recess is and what it does.
So Recess is a one-stop shop for parents to find everything out of school time. So that's after school programs, classes, and camps, to find it and book it on one platform.
I need this. I need this, which is why we invested. I think you pitched me when I had just dropped like $6,000 on summer camp for my son right after Christmas. And I had to set 3 alarms to try and get into all the camps. And I was just like, I don't know if they did this on purpose, but it was genius timing. Genius timing.
It's the reaction we get from a lot of parents who are it's like a hair on fire problem. They're like,
really
please solve this. Summer camp sign-ups start in January. A lot of people set their alarms for 5 a.m. to sign up. It's really painful.
It is. And we did so much user research before we started to build the business and talked to parents all across the United States, everywhere from Boston to Detroit to LA, San Francisco, everywhere. And every single parent we've talked to said it's so painful and needs to be fixed.
And it's high pain and high spend, right? And it doesn't stop, right? From, breaks at school to the summer to aftercare, it's consistent because guess what? The school year doesn't line up with the work day.
Exactly.
So we're so glad that you guys are building Recess to help solve this. So you started the company in Q4 of 2024. We led the $1.75 million pre-seed round in Q1 of 2025. And tell me where you guys are launching and kind of what your philosophy is on growth.
Yeah, so our beta is live. The full site experience goes live this summer for Austin. We're really committed to achieving product market fit, really understanding what works and what doesn't for parents and providers before we expand the model nationally. We've seen other people try this and expand too soon. Learning those lessons on a really broad scale, it hurts, both the user experience and financially. So proving the model here, then we'll expand to a couple major metros to recreate that model in major metropolitan areas, and then we'll do a sweep across the nation. Mm-hmm.
Amazing. So tell me about your aha moment for Recess.
So Recess was born out of a personal pain point. It feels deeply personal to us. I was searching for activities for my own daughter. I was on page 6, 7, 8 Google search results, and I just knew in my gut there was more out there than what I could find. I liken it to trying to find a short-term rental pre-Airbnb. You're people out there are doing this, right? But you're landing on someone's personal website and maybe the pictures don't really represent the thing correctly. It feels ancient and dusty and hard, and a lot of parents are struggling with it. When we did our user research, we found every parent has a spreadsheet. Every parent is trying to wrestle this ecosystem by themselves. Mm-hmm. And I just think about what Airbnb did for short-term rentals, what DoorDash did for food delivery. We can do that same thing for this ecosystem, right? It's dispersed supply. A bunch of parents want to buy things. A bunch of providers have things. Let's get them in the same room and just make that a lot easier.
Okay, so Molly, I want to go back in the time machine and go back to little Molly, young Molly. Was there anything from who you were as a child that was a premonition to being the co-founder of Recess today?
Yeah, maybe looking back with fresh eyes, I could say there was. So when I was young, I never liked to play board games by the rules. I always made up my own rules, and I watch my daughter do it now, so maybe it's genetic. But always this sense of charting my own path. In college, I always took just a completely overloaded schedule. I would try something new every semester. I did theatrical makeup. I did opera. I did Aikido. I did, macroeconomics. It was like, what can I do that's new and interesting? And then when I was dating as a young person, I remember telling every man I met that I wanted to be the breadwinner and are you okay with that? So I think it's kind of this through line of charting my own path and being very deeply curious and wanting to build something myself and own something myself. And I think that's kind of materializing in this moment.
I love that. What about you, Amy?
I saw a few signs growing up for sure. My parents were both writers, and our family activity growing up was to go to the bookstore, and they would let us just run amok for hours. And I found myself quite often in the business section. I felt really in love with the art of building incredible companies and looked up to these amazing entrepreneurs from a young age. And so from as young as 7, I would say, I was like, I'm going to start a company one day. So I've been dreaming about that for a long time.
I love that. When I was little, I remember someone asking me what I wanted to be when I grew up. And I said, I want to be the boss. Yes. I don't even know what that meant to me at that time. But I feel like sometimes it's like some little girls just want to be the boss. Absolutely. So Molly, Amy also told me a little secret about what you were voted most likely to be in high school. Tell us about that.
I was voted most opinionated in high school. Of
course. Most opinionated.
Yeah, and I love that stands. I have a lot of thoughts.
I definitely feel like in diligence, one of the things that came through was how opinionated you are about marketplaces, about how they work, how they should work. And every time I would ask you a question about well, what about this for recess? Could the business work this way? You'd be like, no, it doesn't work for this, and that reason, and here's why this worked for that comp and not this comp. So it was I was watching you piece together this incredibly opinionated version of not only what recess would accomplish for parents, but how it needed to work, right? The how of it, and almost the under the hood, the rules of the game, so to speak. So I'm curious about the failures in this market in the past. Other people have tried to go after this space. And kind of why they haven't worked and why you believe recess will be successful.
I've studied marketplaces extensively. I don't know why, but I really nerd out on this topic.
And also not just studied them. You have been at marketplaces most of your career. So
I have
from
built
inside, from outside,
from the ground up at 2 companies now and doing this at a 3rd. And so, the success of my career and companies that I've worked at have hinged on me understanding these dynamics well. One of the things I've seen at several companies who've tried in this space, there's a big issue with density and liquidity. So they go after a really broad national, they make a big, broad national play, right? And the marketplace dynamics are poor. If you log on, it doesn't matter if there's 1,000 camps or classes. If none of them are in your city or even in your neighborhood, it's not useful to you. So that's something, there's a reason why we've constrained ourselves to Austin. It is not because we're playing small, it's because it's optimal for marketplace dynamics. The other thing we've seen a lot of companies do is they make this vertical integration play. And for a marketplace in the space we're in, it's not something that works out. So if you see a marketplace in the camp and class area that's also building their own back-end SaaS tool, that's trouble. Because all of the players that have their own SaaS companies, you really need them to succeed. You have to partner with them. You can't create a competing product. So we've seen that bring down 3 competitors in this space. There's a lot of things, I could go on forever, but those are 2 big ones that stand out, things that we're really doing differently.
I love that. And I think part of what I'm hearing there is really a difference of how you're treating the supply side, and then what you're able to deliver for the demand side, obviously, which is the parents. And I'm curious about the role of AI in the demand side. There's such a shift in behavior happening right now with ChatGPT and kind of maybe even what's possible for what a marketplace can look and feel like. Can you dream a little dream for us on how recess might look different or feel different for consumers in 5 years? Doesn't have to be today, right? Then let's say the Airbnbs or the marketplaces of yore.
It's a really unique moment in time. We could talk about what COVID did to the landscape of camps and classes, and there's a lot of supply consolidation happening. There's a lot of things that are sort of culminating in this moment, and AI is a huge piece of that story. when you talk about aggregating really disaggregated supply, AI to aggregate supply at scale is vital. So that's on the supply side. On the demand side, there's a lot we can do with AI to unlock more for parents. So you don't have to go on and use kind of traditional search and filters and comb through thousands and thousands of listings. We can leverage AI for natural search and discovery. We can surface what you want that really is tailor-made to your needs based on your parenting ethos, what your child's like, your search and browsing behavior. I can serve that up to you so much more quickly than we could in the past leveraging AI.
Absolutely. And right now the situation is, as you know, as a parent, we have to go through 10 different websites. We have to send in paper checks. We have to fax in immunization records. So we're creating a whole new world for parents where you can say, my son is 5 years old. He likes XYZ activity. Fill up my entire summer for me. So we can make that so easy and we can reduce that mental load of parenthood.
I love that. So, Amy, you were at Christian Louboutin for 12 years. Yes. Tell us about that journey.
Absolutely. I moved to New York when I was 17 years old, and I needed to find a way to pay for college. I went to Parsons School of Design. In my very first week in New York, I saw a pair of Louboutin shoes, and I had this feeling where I said, I need to work for this man. But coming from Detroit and from the Detroit area, I didn't have any fashion background, retail background, anything. And so I went around to about 16 different locations in Soho that day and said, I just have to get any type of retail job so I can go to Louboutin and have this. I had actually contacted them and said, I need to work for you. And same response. They said, you don't have anything in fashion or retail, like get that and come back to us. So I went to 16 boutiques in one day. Every single person turned me down, so you don't have retail experience. I actually walked into Steve Madden. It was my very last stop on the tour that day. And I came up to the manager and said, I want to work for you. Same response. You don't have any experience. So I said, you know what? I'm going to come in tomorrow and work for you for free. I would be damn good at this job. I'm going to come in tomorrow. And if you don't like me, you can send me on my way. At worst, you have a day of free labor. But if you like me, you can keep me. And they ended up keeping me. Went back to Louboutin months later and said, I have fashion experience. Time to hire me. And that's why I started my journey there.
I love that. Also, like, holler at Steve Madden. Oh my God. Yeah, those platform slides. Okay, so you start on this retail sales floor at Louboutin. Tell me about what the company was like when you started there and what it was like when you left, and a little bit about the journey in between.
Absolutely. So I was one of the early employees at Louboutin. So at that point in time, they only had 2 locations in the United States. They had no e-commerce, no customer experience, no retail tech in the stores. I kid you not, you were checked out in the store with a piece of paper, a pencil, and a calculator. I have horrendous handwriting, so it's probably some like scary receipts running around at this point in time of like, what did I buy back then? But I was really brought on board to be in the boutique, and then they promoted me to build e-commerce and customer experience for the brand. Teeny team, building us from the ground up, and that's when I fell in love with the art of building something. I love that so much. So I built e-commerce, customer experience, and then I was sent out to all the new locations. So let's say it's in Houston, Dallas, Vancouver, Sao Paulo. Would be there with the teams to train them on customer experience, the entire ethos behind the brand, and build those markets from the ground up.
So you did that for 12 years, like building the e-com infrastructure, parachuting into new markets, turning on new markets. Yep. And what is Louboutin today, or what was it when you left?
So I was in the U.S. team for almost 10 years, and then I was moved to Paris to run his special order business unit, so all the one-of-a-kind beautiful pieces that you see. At that point in time, the brand was in 35 different countries. It was a $1 billion brand. And so to see how it was this very small brand to what it is today, where you see anyone walking around with one of those shoes, you know exactly who they are, one of the top luxury brands worldwide. And I was so proud to be part of that journey.
So what's your origin story together? You guys are co-founders. How did you meet? What's the origin story there?
We met at InFarm, which was a German unicorn that was working in the sustainable food technology space. And we were paired together on the expansion team. So we walked into a teeny WeWork in March of 2020 in New York City. I see Molly. They said, this is going to be your partner in crime, for the company. And we were paired to really launch the business across the United States and Canada. So we were sent out on planes, only people on planes, to Calgary. Yeah. Calgary, Seattle, Toronto in the middle of the pandemic. And we felt in that moment that if we could do this, we could do anything together.
And by the way, that was something that for us, when we were doing diligence, we're like, okay, what's a key risk here? Yeah. Like figuring out how to launch market by market, right? That is for any marketplace, like that's a risk. Mm-hmm. But when we heard about the experience that you had at Louboutin, the experience you guys had together in InFarm, we were like, okay, well, if any team is going to do it, and I remember asking you questions about it, and it was just like, oh, they have like 1,000-page playbook. Yes. Like they have their 10,000 hours in this, you know, and I think that's really interesting that you guys did that together.
Yeah, geo by geo launches, we would, the land and expand strategy. You would land with nothing, you would hire a full team, train a full team, we were in charge of construction, we were in charge of getting the business license, getting insurance, like everything, absolutely everything. And we've had hard conversations. Like I don't think there's anything that could break us. Like we were alone through the pandemic launching these markets. Like there's not much harder than that, frankly. So it felt like a really tested relationship that we felt really confident in, of course. When we realized this problem spot, kind of based on our own experience, it was like, it felt, I don't know, like an epiphany. It was like, this is the one. It is painful, it is needed, and we deeply understand it and are prepared to tackle it based on our experience.
And you're in the peer group, right? Oh, yeah, exactly. Like you're both mamas, like this is what you're going through, your friends are going through, I'm going through. But so tell me a little bit more about one another. I'm curious, Molly, what do you think Amy's superpower is as a founder?
God, she's good at so many things. Okay, I have two. I'm going to break them all. If Amy says she's going to do something, she does it. Like, there is no following up. Hey, did you get to? Hey, I'm like nervous about. No, Amy owns it. She owns it end to end. The other thing is I've never met someone who's met Amy who doesn't like Amy. Like it was my birthday the other day, and she called the restaurant to pay for the birthday dinner unexpectedly. And the owner of the restaurant comes up and he's like, "That Amy, I love that Amy." I'm like, this man had one conversation with Amy to like arrange a menu, and he was like just everyone.
That's so nice.
It is great for a CEO.
And on my side, Molly is an incredible operator. She's brilliant, and I also love your knowledge about marketplaces. She could talk about marketplaces all day. It's always diving into these details, and she's just absolutely fantastic at building them and operating them. So I'm so proud to have her as my co-founder.
I love that. You guys are a great team.
And we have fun together while doing it, which is the most important thing.
Yes, you have to enjoy the ride,
yes,
right?
Exactly.
It's a long ride, right?
And we're aunties to each other's kids now, which is sweet. My daughter asks me, when am I going to see Auntie Amy?
Yeah.
And I think it is interesting, too. We've talked a little bit about, work-life integration and what it's like to be startup founders and parents. And you guys are not the, 22-year-old, recent Harvard dropouts, right? You're experienced, seasoned business people. Yeah. Your parents, and you're doing it in a way that is different than what it often looks like maybe on the internet is the core archetype of success. And I think it's actually a tremendous advantage in this market especially.
Yeah, I think the archetype is strong, right? Like you think about the 100-hour weeks, these people living in hacker houses, and that hustle belongs someplace, but there's a different narrative that I think we can explore as well, and it's someone who's more seasoned in their career. And yes, we work a lot, but we don't have to do 100-hour weeks. We have time for family because we have background knowledge of a lot of this business. We're really well networked. We can pull on resources when we need to. I do think we work a lot, but we also work around family.
Exactly.
So I work before my daughter wakes up. I take her to school, obviously work all day. Then I leave time for when she's home, we hang out, we play, I do bath time, bedtime, story time, long story times, and then I go back to work.
Exactly.
So I think you can have the two things, and then if there's a dance recital in the middle of the day, we make space for it.
Exactly. And we're building a family-first workplace. It's so important to us to make sure that we have flexible schedules for employees. We're building industry-leading parental leave for parents. Really excited to build something that it can accept and be a welcoming place for modern parents.
Yeah, and I think part of what you're talking about is really dropping to essence of the thing that you're doing. Yes. Whether that's dropping in fully to story time and being fully present with story time, or dropping in fully with the work, right? And that kind of potent way of being allows you to hopefully deliver kind of that 10x on whatever it is that you're doing, whether it's presence with your kids or
absolutely. And I think our kids really fuel that ambition and that drive. I think about it every single day when I'm waking up at 4 o'clock to pump and answering emails. I'm like, I'm building a beautiful future for my daughter. And I know that you feel the same too about your daughter as well. We work so hard to build this incredible future for our children, but also children throughout the entire U.S. whose parents are looking for a solution here.
So I'm curious about what inspires you. it could be a key mentor or a place that you go for inspiration. For me, if I'm feeling drained, there's 2 places I go. I go to dance class, I go to museum. That's like, if I'm really just like, wow, I'm feeling bedraggled, you're gonna find me at dance or at SFM. Because sometimes, like, that's just what I need, right? I'm curious where you go for inspiration, Molly.
So I have 2. One is, do I need kind of like physical movement and kind of release of tension so that I can be my best self? That is dance for me as well. I love to dance. I did swing dance for a large part of my life. I'm learning salsa and bachata now.
Yes.
We go out country two-stepping. So my husband and I have a very sacred date night once a week. And most of the time it's dancing, which is awesome for my mental health.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
I think you also told me that there's like a toddler bachata class.
Or toddler
toddler
DJ.
flamenco.
Oh yeah,
Toddler
And
flamenco.
toddler DJ. Yeah. You want it, we'll find it if there's a class for kids. And my daughter's like loves to dance, so I hope she does that as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, dance is a big one for me. And then the other one is just like more cerebrally, like if I just need to be activated, I need some fresh thoughts. I've listened to Andrew Chen's book on the cold start problem on repeat on walks for a long time, too long.
It's like your Grey's Anatomy.
It's a little,
Andrew Chen's book.
yeah, it's a little unhealthy. But
Andrew Chen, I hope you're watching.
every time I listen to it, I've changed meaningful parts of our
Yes,
business. I listen to
absolutely.
a fresh thing and I'm like, oh, like get this idea for virality. Like I'm gonna go implement that. Like, so
I love that. I love that. And Amy, I'm curious for you, mentors. People who inspire you, who have mentored you. Who are those people for you?
I was so inspired every day during our fundraising journey by Laura Modi from Bobby, who I know you know so well, of course. I saw so many posts about her where she was fundraising when I believe she was 7 months pregnant. Kim Chappell, who we just signed as to our brand advisory board, she posted this where she's like, Laura's doing lunges in the basement on the phone with investors, and that was true fuel for me. Every single time we took an investor call, I was very pregnant when we started to fundraise, and I went out 10 days postpartum when we first started talking to you as well. And that mentor for me, just watching her from afar, I was like, if she can do this, I can do it. And it was a beautiful moment.
I love that. I love that. And yeah, amazing how our peers can be our mentors, right? Absolutely. And being visibly just out living our lives, that can be an opportunity to mentor one another. Absolutely. Well, I'm so delighted that you came here to tell your stories, and I can't wait to see who you inspire, with the way that you guys are showing up in your work and transforming this huge, huge industry. And with all the ways that you're showing up in the work together with your kids here at Baukunst. And I can't be more honored and grateful to be invested in you and to get to help, support in the ways that I can. So thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having us.
you.
So if people want to follow along with the Recess company building journey or become customers of Recess, users of Recess, how can they follow along?
So our site is hello-recess.com, so follow us there. And then we're on TikTok, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, everything. We're connecting with parents and partners across the nation, and can't wait to bring Recess to parents nationwide.
And if anyone wants to nerd out about marketplaces, they can find me on LinkedIn. I'm always down for a chat.
Amazing. All right. Well, thank you both for being here.
Thank you for
Thank
having
you.
us. We're so happy to be here.